Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you out here are actually army officers' kids? Anybody? Just one? I am. Two? Not bad. Okay, that's good. And how many of you out here actually follow the English Premier League? Football? Okay, that's one. 2 out of 2 you get, man. No, not bad. Throw you a chewing gum or something. Just pick it up from there. So there's only one person who's interested in the English Premier League? Anybody a fan of Barcelona here? Okay, you're a fan of Barcelona. Anybody a fan of Arsenal here? No. Okay, cool. So I get a sense of the kind of audience I'm talking to. Have you been able to solve this? Oh, okay, fantastic. So I'm going to talk about RTCE, and I believe the younger generation is very much into jargon and short forms, so I'm going to do RTCE. There was a time when I had to ask my children, what does LOL mean, okay? So it was a little bit of a stress for me, but it's all right. I'm not that old as I'm making myself out to be, but it's all right. I kind of graduated from being old. Let's look at the context of this topic, and let me just try and tell you a small story why I asked people who were army officers' kids. My father was an army officer. He was a general in the Indian Army. He fought 3 wars, and this story's got to do with him. So, the army officers in the days gone by were not very well off, and we bought ourselves a TV, a color TV, okay, which was a rarity in those days. And he bought a brand called Beltec. Have you heard of a brand called Beltec? Anyone? No? Okay, Google it, you'll find it in the archives somewhere. Anyway, that is not the point of the story. So, my dad left the army, and he still had the same TV. Usually, we used to keep TVs for a very long time, like we kept cars for a very long time when you were in the army. And at that point in time, something went wrong with the television, and Dad was very used to being a general, so if something went wrong, and he used to get 10 people coming in trying to solve it. Very easy, right? In those days when you were a general. But when he left the army and became a civilian, he called up the TV guys, and nobody came. Okay, and he was very upset, and he called me and said, I've been trying to call the guys to fix my TV, and there isn't anybody here, and they're saying, aa rahe hain. And dad's actually from Lucknow, so he settled down in Lucknow, and the guys used to say, aa to rahe hain bhaiya, kahe paresan ho rahe ho? So he went on, and he didn't come. Okay, Dad junked that TV and bought another brand called BPL, which is another dead brand. I don't know, not many of you people have heard of BPL, but there was a brand called BPL. The point I'm trying to make is that if the brand had kept in touch with the consumer and had responded to the consumer adequately, that would not have been the case. My dad would have still upgraded to the next Beltec television. Both brands are dead, of course, because they didn't stay in tune with the times and they didn't stay in touch with the consumer. So both the brands are dead. And that's exactly the story that I want to tell you is that, my belief is that real-time consumer engagement is not the future of marketing. It never was. But it will continue to be the future. So there is a huge amount of paradox here. And that is because, it is something that is just a concept that we lost sight of. Why do businesses run? Why do businesses work? They work because of the consumer, right? You don't have a consumer, you don't have a business. And if you don't have a consumer with whom you don't stay in touch, you're only going to die. You're going to die very, very fast. That's the whole premise. So therefore, how can that be a future? It's now, it's tomorrow, it was yesterday. It's going to be there forever. If there's a consumer, you've got to stay in touch with the consumer, or there is no business for you. And that's the point I'm trying to make in this entire 15 minutes that I'm going to spend with you guys. In fact, it's the consumer. There was a time when everybody said that, who's your biggest asset? And everybody said, oh, the consumer is my asset. The same consumer who was your asset yesterday is now your biggest liability. And I'm saying that in a good sense. I'm not saying that in a negative sense. But he's a liability today because of many reasons. A liability because, this consumer is elusive. He's uninterested. He's self-aware, and he's got low attention span. How many of you guys bought a car recently? This one guy bought a car in this entire audience. Jeez. Okay, so when you bought a car, how did you buy a car? Did you go to the showroom and then look for a car? You went to the showroom that you wanted to buy a car from? Pre-decided, right? So you did your research, correct? So why did you go to a showroom? Or you bought it online? Yeah, you wanted to have touch and see, right? Touch and feel, right? Indians can't do anything without touching and feeling. They'll even touch a cloth, right? वो बोला सिल्क है नहीं मैं जरा देख तो लूँ पहले सिल्क है या नहीं. Correct, no? Same thing you did. So you did everything online, you even touched the car. See, there it is. And after that you bought the car. You only touched one car. So you didn't get influenced by any great advertising that happened. So you knew which car to buy. Or you researched it.
I think because they are anyway doing great work in terms of making me buy that car already.
Understood.
Directly, but most of the indirectly.
Understood. So do you think that all advertising that the car manufacturers do is like rubbish?
Sometimes it works. So, for example, the car I bought in Thar, and it's a
You got a Thar. Ooh. Wow. I test drove a Thar. I couldn't sit in the car only. That's all right. I am me. I bought myself a BMW after that. Hell with it. Hell the Thar. That's okay. So you bought a Thar. Yeah, but there's no comparison for a Thar, right? Now, how do you reach an audience like this? How do you reach this guy? You don't reach this guy. How do you reach this guy? How do you reach a guy who's buying a Thar, who wants to buy a Thar, right? Yeah, because you want to show him macho and all that, yeah, right? Correct? Are you married? No, that's fine. I'm just kidding. So don't take it personally. Are you married? No wonder you wanted a Thar. You try buying a Thar when you're married, your wife will kill you, man. Okay, because there's no boot space. Do you know that, no? So how do you reach a guy like that? Do you reach his wife? You can't even reach his wife. His wife will say, why don't buy a Thar? I kick your ass if you want to buy a Thar. Right? So how do you reach a guy like this? Elusive. Was he interested in any other brand? No, he wasn't. He was uninterested. Doesn't give a damn. So all the people who were advertising macho and saying this car goes everywhere, he just wasn't bothered. He'd made up his mind. And that is why the consumer today is the marketer's biggest challenge. There was a time, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but there was a time when Asian Paints came up with an ad line called Mera Wala Pink. How many of you are aware of that? Please, somebody raise hands. Thank God. Not one, there were 4 hands this time. Seriously, guys, you got to read something, The world doesn't start with, DAUs and MAUs, or doesn't end with that either. There's a long history. I'm a history student, which is why I keep talking history. Okay? So there was Mera Wala Pink, right? Do you think that concept works now? No? The kind of pink that she wants, she can create online, right? She can do whatever shit she wants with that pink, right? Correct? So what do you want to advertise? So what do you tell the consumer? How do you get the consumer to look at you? And how many paint guys are there now? A zillion. And why paint? They'll put wallpaper now. And why wallpaper? You go to Instagram. Okay, I'm a new recruit on Instagram, okay? I'm just want to make that honest sort of upfront confession. I don't use Instagram. I mean, I have an Instagram handle, okay? I understand what that handle is, but I don't use it. I find it very boring. I find it useless. Anyway, that's me. I actually asked the lady who runs Threads, saying, why did you launch Threads? She's the head of Meta, right? So I asked her at a conference, why did you launch Threads? She got very offended. I said, I used Threads and then I junked it. So she got even more offended. And then somebody said, shut up. I said, okay. But that's the consumer, right? How do you guys stay in touch? So she's a challenge. The consumer today is a challenge. We talk 10x growth, we talk 20x growth. Nobody talks growth in relation to a consumer. We talk growth in relation to technology, which is rubbish. I mean, tech is important. It's very, very important, but it's rubbish. Because tech growth without the consumer is meaningless, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that the consumer is a liability today unless you don't reach out to him unless you don't interact with them on a regular basis, unless you don't understand what they want. Right? Why did boat become so big? Any clue? Guys? And it's not rocket science, okay? I'm not here to prove anything. I'm only here to improve. Seriously. Can you hear me at the back? All the laptop users at the back, I was at the desk, they were all using the laptops and they weren't listening to people on the dais. So, I have a personal grudge there. That's okay. So why did boat become so big? Anybody? Because they understood the consumer. They said, we're talking to a young audience who can't afford fancy stuff like Bose, but want good music, but want to listen to good quality music. Therefore, they made good quality stuff at a very affordable price. Obviously, they imported everything from China, and they put it into cartons and they sealed it to India. But that's all right. That's what they did. But they've now become a brand. I'm going to fall down from this place if I walk a little further. So that's how because they understood the consumer. So the consumer is going to become a challenge. He or she is already a challenge. And therefore, it's crucial, as I kept on saying, that it's crucial for an organization or a brand to stay in regular touch with the consumer to understand what the hell is happening in their lives. Sorry? Listen, the consumer doesn't understand AI, okay? Yeah, they can. But AI is just going to generate content, generate what? What is AI going to do?
Behavior patterns. If you are able to understand that, you are able to decode what your consumer is asking for or will be wanting in near future, then you can perhaps, give him that product and that's how you can increase your sales.
Absolutely.
I believe this RTCE today is very important, but then for organizations to have a consumer journey, long-term consumer journey roadmap plan, they will have to do hyper-personalization and use generative AI.
Hey, that's my entire deck. You just stolen my entire deck. But I'm great. Great minds tend to think alike. So you and I are thinking on the same page, which is good. Okay, because exactly, you can do a lot of stuff in tech, okay, with consumers, but nobody does it. Nobody does it. You want to hear another story? You guys want to hear stories? Yeah? No gyan, no? All rubbish this is. Okay, I'll tell you a story. How many of you own a Bose headset? Who? One. Two. Anybody at the back? The laptop table? No. Guys, you own something, right? That Apple laptop is given by a company only, no? No, it's yours. Wow, so you own an Apple. Do you own an Apple Pro or something? Okay, you own a Pro, right? Good, okay. So how many people own a Bose? 3 people. I also own a Bose, and there was one gentleman there. So 3 people. So my son has a Bose speaker. My son is a lawyer, okay? Now you know my age. I'm not that old still. I still maintain that. Anyway, so he has a Bose speaker. So his Bose speaker got spoiled. Now this guy, the dude is all of 23, 24 years of age, and he wants his music. So he tells me, Dad, you're doing absolutely nothing these days, so why don't you go get my Bose repaired? That's the impression he has. I don't do nothing. I run the house, incidentally. But that's fine, okay? There's the generation of this thing that the oldest don't do jack shit, but we do a lot. So I said, okay, I'll go and get it repaired. You type on your phones, Bose service station near me, you won't find any. Guarantee. करो, टाइप करो. टाइप करके देखो. किसी को मिल जाए तो मुझे नंबर बता देना. किसी को भी. मेरी अंग्रेजी इतनी अच्छी है तो times I'll break into Hindi, okay? You okay now with Hindi, guys? Everybody okay with Hindi? Great. मिला? 5G नहीं है आप लोगों के पास? मेरे पास है. Anyway, you won't find it, guys. Leave it. You Google LG service, you'll find a number. I handled the LG business many years ago when I was working with Group M, okay? I was the lead on the business. And there was a gentleman in LG by the name of K.R. Kim. Anybody heard of K.R. Kim? Legend. Guy was a legend. 5 foot nothing, 6 foot guys used to cry in front of him. Because his entire focus was consumer. Do you know he went to a newly inaugurated shop And instead of doing anything, he cut the ribbon and went straight into the bathroom. So the people there, when he went into the bathroom, the dealer said, "अरे ये क्या हो गया? Kim साहब को सीधे bathroom क्यों लेके गए?" And 3 people ran after him. So people are more shocked कि 3 लोग Kim साहब के साथ bathroom में क्यों चले गए? Obviously, na, Kim going to go to the loo, go to the loo. But 3 people went with him. And then they heard Kim shouting in the loo. Why did Kim go to the loo? Because he said, when my consumer comes in and uses the loo, I want to see what kind of experience he gets in the loo. Amazing. How many people do that? No AI can solve that. Nothing can solve that. No tech will solve that. Common sense solves it. Did you find the Bose helpline number, madam? नहीं मिला ना? नंबर मिला या नहीं? हाँ या ना बता दो. बस खत्म हो गई ना बात. The consumer has moved on, boss. You think the consumer has time to sit down and do stuff finding after sales numbers? No. It happened with me, okay? I did the same thing, but because it was my son's speaker and I had to get it repaired, I spent shitloads of time looking for a Bose service center. There's no Bose service center in Delhi NCR. Can you believe that? I found one, okay? वो बोलते ना ढूंढने से तो ऊपर वाला भी मिल जाता है, साला Bose क्या है? I found the Bose service center, okay? Crazy it was. It's at Vasant Kunj in a mall, which you will feel कि boss यहाँ पर there are only massage parlors in that mall, okay? Seriously, guys, only massage parlors in the Bose service center, and the Bose center next to a massage center only. So I went there and I said, "Are you a service center or a massage center with Bose branding?" They said, "No, we are Bose service center." I said, "No, it doesn't look like a Bose service center. It doesn't look like a Bose service center. A Bose showroom should look like a Bose showroom, right? You're paying shitloads of money for it, man. That bloody stupid speaker cost me 50,000 bucks. Correct? 50 grand. It's a lot of money. Anyway, good point. She said, we'll get repaired. So I said, nice. How much time will you take? They said, 2 weeks. Fuck, 2 weeks. Sorry, my language gets a little weary, but that's all right. 2 weeks. I said, why do you need 2 weeks? Spare parts नहीं है. मैंने कहा यार इतना तो माल बेचते नहीं होगा कि आपके स्पेयर पार्ट बिक जाते होंगे, या इतनी तो रिफंड आता नहीं होगा कि आप स्पेयर पार्ट नहीं है आपके पास. Look at the consumer experience. It's going from bad to worse, okay? I'm just trying to tell you the story because, this is consumer engagement at many levels. So somebody talked about a consumer journey, right? So from the journey, it becomes like crash journey हो रही है ये. Total terrible journey. Anyway, so I said, ठीक है, 2 weeks. I called up my son. I said, do you want to? She said, why don't you exchange it for a new speaker? I said, nice idea, yaar. So she's trying to cross sell. So I said, how much the new speaker cost? 50,000 bucks. I said, it didn't come down in the last, say, 1 year. So I went to Amazon. I Googled Amazon. It was some 45,000 cheaper than what she was offering. But she was offering a 10% discount. Anyway, long story short, we said, no, we'll get the speaker repaired. Bloody nightmare began from there only. So she said, you will get an email confirmation about the speaker. I said, madam, कोई receipt दे दो एक. तो she नहीं email पे आ जाएगी. मैंने कहा तब भी हिंदुस्तानी है ना, थोड़ी उम्र के हो गए तो हमने कहा भाई साहब हार्ड कॉपी दे दीजिए आप एक, और स्टैम्प लगवा दीजिए कि भैया आपके पास स्पीकर आ गया है ना. वो ईमेल क्या पता है, इसी जगह जहाँ आपका वर्कशॉप है वहाँ पर अगर कुछ मसाज कुछ उल्टा हो गया तो रिसीट भी नहीं मिलेगी. फिर वो पूछते रहिएगा भाई साहब कहाँ गया स्पीकर आपका. I got a receipt and I told her, madam, number, and she wrote her number down, okay. I said, ठीक है. Nothing happened after that. For 2 weeks, nothing happened, okay. I didn't remember that I had given a Bose speaker for repairs. No email came, nothing. This is Bose, guys, at its best. Okay, then after 2 weeks, I called her up. पहले तो phone ही नहीं मिला, switched off था. Then there was a landline number attached to it, unfortunately, okay. I tried that number and that number, nobody picked up for 1 hour. Now, I'm a kind of a guy, I don't give up easily, okay, in life. So I kept at it. Redial. Hello. मैंने कहा मैडम आज तो मेरी किस्मत अच्छी है, आपके नंबर मिल गया मैडम. मैंने कहा एक मैडम स्पीकर दिया था, आपके पास ईमेल नहीं आई. ऑफेंस इज द बेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ डिफेंस. पहले पेल दो साले को. मैंने कहा मैडम आई नहीं, ईमेल नहीं आई. शी सेड ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है. मैंने कहा मैडम हो गया मेरे साथ, अब क्या करूँ मैं. आपकी ईमेल यही है. मैंने कहा हाँ मैडम यही है. अच्छा, मैंने कहा क्या हुआ. आपका अप्रूवल नहीं आया तो हमने काम ही शुरू नहीं करा. So I said, what is the cost? He said, 10,000 rupees to repair it. I said, okay, repair it. What to do? I have no option, right? And he said, how much time will it take? 2 weeks. Okay, now I lost it, okay? From there I lost it. I said, now I'm going to go ballistic. So first I went, and then I realized that the entire Bose service centers outsourced to a company called Surveyfy. I'm saying all of this because I've put it on LinkedIn, okay? If any of you guys see my LinkedIn, it's there. Okay, so there's nothing to hide. And I'm sorry, I apologize to anybody who's here from Bose, but that's not important. I don't want to apologize because I'm a consumer. I'm paying good money for their product, and I expect service. That's me as a consumer, right? I'm a tough consumer. I wrote everywhere. Social media, LinkedIn pe pel diya maine. Then I wanted to find out who is the CEO of Bose Global. So I found out a lady called Leela Snyder. She is the CEO of Bose Worldwide. I wrote to her, open letter to Miss Leela Snyder on LinkedIn, and CC to her. Then the Surveyfy guys woke up suddenly, okay? Then I started getting calls from vice presidents and this, you should have called us. I said, if I find a number, I'll call you also. First of all, I don't have anybody's number. Lisa Snyder got back to me in one day. Somebody from our office called me early morning and said, with a Yank accent, and said, Leela gave me your number and your mail, and how can I help you? We're very sorry for this. I got my speaker, guys. Do you think I'll ever buy a Bose again? Never. I'll never buy a Bose. And I am a Bose user. I have a bloody home theater of Bose. I have Bose headphones. I have 3 Bose. I have a lot of Bose. I was a deprived army officer's son, so when I made money, I said, let me buy all Bose that I can buy. But they've lost me, right? And for them to find a consumer in this country is impossible. They can't find Bose. Bose shop में कभी गए आप लोग शोरूम में एम्बियंस में है 2 लोग भी नहीं होते उसके अंदर मक्खी मार रहे हैं सुबह से शाम तक वो लोग फिल्म देखते रहते हैं बैठ के कुछ नहीं करते. That's the problem with consumers. If you don't stay in touch with them, they will go away. I'm gone. I'll never buy a Bose in India at least. Anyway, so just let's move on. So what are the trends in RTCE, okay? I mean, you spoke trends, we spoke trends. We'll tell you to some, these are all my interpretations, okay, from a commonsensical perspective and my experience with brands over 30 years. She was wrong. I've been working for 30 years. Out of 30 years, in 2012, I stopped working for companies. I can't wear a tag on me. I find it like a, bell नहीं होता कोल्लू का bell. उसके ऊपर टांग दिया खोटा आपने और बोलो भाई साहब घूमते रहो. I couldn't do that anymore. Anyway, and as you can well make out, I wouldn't have been a great fit in any organization. At least diplomatically, I would have been a disaster. That being said, okay, so let's look at some trends, right? The first trend I think is that a consumer expects to reach the brand anywhere, anytime in this day and age. Omnipresent, omni-channel. I should be able to reach the brand via phone, via chit-chat. I'm sorry, I'm just finishing. Okay. Hey guys, he wants me to finish. Do you want me to finish? I can email the deck to you also. Okay, 10 minutes. Yeah, thanks. Hey, I waited for so much time. I had lunch, I waited for bloody award present. Sorry, I'm just buying time. So, the consumer expects you to be there every time. Consumer expects you to be available every time. The brand is 24/7. There's a stat which says most of the consumers pay the credit card bills early in the morning. Because, they don't have time in the whole day. बोलते सुबह pay कर देते हैं, फिर तो याद ही नहीं रहेगा because you'll get stuck in some work. So that's the first trend. The second trend is the consumer wants greater control. Mera wala pink. That's why car people give you so many options. What color shade do you want in the car? The 3D that they wish, which are horrible 3D they do, वो car ही नहीं हिलती. They never got the tech right only for that. So somebody please tell the car guys to get the tech right. Horrible tech. So the consumer wants more control, correct? All of you want control. Or what you buy, what you spend, what you do. So that's the other trend. Then there is, the consumer wants experience. He wants to be experienced. Like you said, no, Thar, already went to the showroom was to touch and feel the car. What do you get in touch and feeling a Thar? Sorry, I'm just asking. What did you do when you felt the touch? You shock laga. Anyway, that was a Havel's ad. Shock laga kya? Yeah, I'm just joking. It's okay. We don't have time for a conversation. We can do that afterwards. I'm just kidding. Just having fun at your expense. But I love the concept of touch and feel a Thar. Okay, I'll use it at some other presentation. And then there is this whole concept about how private is my data. Consumers are obsessed with it, right? The other day I was talking about uh, a family holiday, and I booked my ticket through Go Ibibo. I don't like Make My Trip, but Make My Trip likes me. They sent me an email. Ki please book through us. Somebody was listening, right? I mean, Go Ibibo was also owned by Make My Trip, incidentally. So how consumers are obsessed by it? So Apple laptop guys at the back, okay? Apple, when you download an app on your phone, it says ask app not to track, correct? Don't you feel happy कि मेरा control है भाई साहब, मेरा data साला private है. Apple people fight with the FBI, don't want to give up data of an individual. They can't unlock an iPhone. Do you know there's a guy in sort of Karol Bagh? He's called Sonu, who can unlock an iPhone in 10 minutes. I'm not joking. He can. If you ever get a phone unlocked, go to Karol Bagh, ask for Sonu. He'll unlock it in 10 minutes. The Apple guys are trying to find him. He ran away when they heard that Apple is coming to meet him. Anyway, and finally, there is proactive engagement that a consumer expects from brands in this day and age. When you get the only category that are seen to be heavily proactive are the insurance guys. The day your insurance seems to run out, you get 1,000 emails, right? आपकी policy expire हो रही है, आपकी car की insurance खत्म हो रही है, etc. They get it all right, but then they chase you for the rest of your life. So that's another problem. But these are broadly 5 trends that I see of how brands need to interact with consumers at different levels. Now, okay, leave this aside. It's not important. Now, these trends are already having a massive impact on the way on businesses because people start to switch brands. I've heard a new term, CAQ, cost of acquisition, right? You all know how expensive it is to get a consumer, right? You lose a consumer, to get him back is a nightmare, correct? And you get negotiated prices for CAC, etc. You keep on doing all that jazz, and it's a pain. But people are losing businesses. Businesses are getting closed. Why did Byju's go down the drain? I mean, it's on its way down to the drain, not yet down the drain. Last I heard that Mr. Byju was crying when he heard that his company में इतना mess हो गया. खुद ने पैसे रख लिए, उसके बाद रो रहा है. ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? Anyway, that's not the conversation that we're having. We're not having that conversation. That is a different and a very sensitive conversation. Anyway, so these are having massive trends in the business. So let me explain to you how this is changing. First of all, how many of us really understand the kind of consumer that we are working with? How many people really understand that? How many people really understand the consumer, and therefore, how do I stay in touch with him on a regular basis? Does boss understand a guy like me? I don't think they do. They don't understand, otherwise they would have answered the question of after-sales service more effectively. That's the first part. The second part is, what are the channels that are required to reach out to such customers, that too on a 24/7 basis? How do I stay in touch with that consumer regularly? Before you identify, how do you stay in touch after you've identified the consumer? How is my experience across different channels consistent? एक तरफ वो बोलती है, hello sir, Pinky speaking. दूसरी तरफ, it's very different. How are they consistent or inconsistent? How is one conversation on one channel consistent with the conversation on the other channel? And finally, you've got to keep on optimizing and monitoring all these channels to get a better idea of what's happening with the consumer. So that was the omnipresence. In terms of, while the consumer wants greater choices, the consumer also wants simplicity. If you complicate the channel choices or the choices, you will lose the consumer. Because I don't want to get into such complications. I want to make life easier and simpler for me is the mantra. Every consumer wants that. So give them choices, but don't make it so difficult for them to access those choices. Obviously, everybody wants information, everybody wants transparency. How many times have you called up a helpline and waited for them to listen to you? The helpline guys will first start talking. Hello, sir. Madam, sun to lo. It's painful, right, guys? It's very painful. They don't listen to you. They're more busy reading the script from the screen, which they have to finish in 1 second because their calls are being monitored. But they're not listening to the problem. It's a problem with brands. It's a problem with everybody. I mean, there are cars like American Express, which were very good once upon a time. They listen to you. Now they don't listen. Now they argue. So you tell them, do you want to argue with me, boss, or do you want to listen? Sorry, sir. I hope you're having a good day. I said, up till now I was having a good day. Now I'm having a very bad day. So shut the hell up and listen to me. They don't listen. Nobody listens. Anyway, that being said, let's just go ahead. And finally, how do you adapt? How can brands adapt on the go? Because, life's changing every day, right? This is where the right tech comes into play. How do you get the right tech involved with the consumer at the right time? AI is good. There was a time many years ago, when I was handling the LG business, I said there'll come a time when water purifiers will get connected to the internet and get an update on what quality of water is coming out. I said that then. The brand manager laughed at me. Can you believe it? He said, "Aap has rahe ho. Ha ha ha. Internet se kya aayega?" And the brand manager doesn't have a job anymore. That's all right. But I'm still here. But that's what it is. How do you use the right kind of tech to get the right thing? Secondly, how do you optimize content for each channel and each platform via tech? So if it's AI using content, how do you optimize? AI can give you anything, depending on the prompt that you give it. The prompt is important, right? Otherwise, it will give you shit. It will be gigo, garbage in, garbage out. How do you get the right prompt? That is because only when you understand what you want. And finally, consistency across platforms. A brand has to be consistent across all platforms. Apple is consistent across all platforms. I tell you a small story before that guy comes in and does this to me again. In Apple, if you ever look at Apple, the box that holds the brand, holds the product, can be opened by holding the top, the box will fall down. Understood? तो जो फोन में आता है ना, जो फोन बॉक्स में आता है, अगर आप ऊपर से बॉक्स पकड़ोगे तो वो बॉक्स ऑटोमेटिकली खुल जाएगा. You don't have to fight with it. Steve Jobs spent 6 months making that box. 6 months. Because he said, my consumer cannot be fighting to get something he's paid for. How many times do you have to fight opening something that you bought? Every time. It's impossible. Have you ever bought something called a khakda? Khakda khaya kisi ne? Laya hai aap log? Khakda khate hain? How difficult it is to open that damn thing? You bought it, you open it, and you fight it, it becomes like chura. It's like, shit. Khakda kaise khayega? Imagine the problem with the consumer. I'm just going to add basic as that, okay? The packaging stuff. So you have to have that consistency. Data privacy, it's got legal issues all over it. GDPR, whatever, there are so many more. The Indian government is coming up with its own stuff. So the brand has to be legally compliant. And therefore, it is going to increase complexity and increase expenses for the brand, but the brand has to do it. It has to leverage tech to create opportunity for consumers because they need greater consumer control over the data. So all that has to happen. How do you build trust and loyalty? Apple builds trust and loyalty every time you want to download an app. It's saying, ask app not to track. And you say, I'm concerned, this is really nice. Don't know what they do with it, but at least it's there. At least it's trustable, right? And finally, when you talk about how do you use proactive engagement to improve your customer loyalty? Your car, Mr. Thar, your car after some time will give you a notice saying, servicing due. Correct? It should do that. It does. Fantastic. Even the workshop guy will call you. They will call you even after the car is serviced. And come back to you also. You don't tell them, "Bhai, service ho gayi." Acha sir, kab hui? Feedback de dijiye. So I'm just saying that is you building customer loyalty with you, saying the next Thar when it comes up, it will become a bigger Thar, then you will buy that bigger Thar. So that's being absolutely proactive. And obviously, proactive engagement will increase customer acquisition, reduce the cost. Also, it will reduce customer service costs because you're going to do in time and enhance customer relationship. The only company that ticks all the boxes, and you can take it from me in writing, only company is Amazon. That does it so beautifully, it is not funny. Okay, last story, okay? Then I'll go away because this guy's going to otherwise burst an artery by now. I think he's already bursting an artery outside. Somebody is already giving him some treatment. Okay, but this time he'll definitely burst an artery. So during the lockdown, okay, me and my wife are birders. You understand what birding is, right? If we go outside and see birds, you must be finding that really funny if you don't know what birding is, but it's very interesting, okay? And we shoot birds. So we have lenses, cameras, birds, so we bird. So my wife and I are birders, okay? And during the pandemic, it was the best time because there was nobody on the road. So you could go to any place and do birding. And around NCR region, you'll find enough forest where you can find very nice birds. And these are all migratory birds that come in from Europe. Beautiful, beautiful creatures, okay? So I ordered a lens. And I made a mistake in ordering, so I got 2 lenses. Big lenses. Each lens costs about 80,000 bucks. Okay, big lenses. So I called up the Amazon guy prior to the lens coming. I said, I made a mistake, but I cancelled the first order. He said, no, that order is cancelled, no issues. I said, I hope I don't get charged twice. That was my fear. He said, no, you will not get charged twice. I said, okay. Then, lo and behold, the next day I get 2 lenses. So my wife goes completely ballistic on me. She's saying, spendthrift and all that jazz. She gave me, obviously, spendthrift was one of the lowest possible names she could call me. Wasting money, etc., etc. When you're married for as long as I've been, you got to say, okay, fine, this is fine. Guess what happened? I called up the Amazon guy. I said, I've got 2 lenses. I spoke to him. He said, yeah, it's there in the records. We can see it. He says, but if you got 2 lenses, keep the second one. I said, I don't want to send it back. They said, no, keep it. 80,000 bucks, he said, keep it. I said, but it's 80,000 bucks. He said, I don't care. It's yours. End of story. Nothing happened. I was scaring कि कल फिर फोन आएगा कि वो गलती से लेंस आ गई उसको वापस कर दीजिए. मैंने 1 हफ्ता रखा अपने पास में जाके बेच दिया मैंने. But that's Amazon. They do it all the time. You ever have an Amazon problem, write to Jeff Bezos, Jeff at Amazon.com. I guarantee you in 24 hours somebody will call you. I've done it every time I have a problem. And I don't have many problems with Amazon, but I still have some problems. And Jeff responds, huh? And he solves the problem also. That guy solves the problem. Why would I go to Flipkart? Flipkart पे कभी आपने वो करा है, सर्च करा है कभी कोई चीज़? जिंदगी भर नहीं मिलेगी आपको. गारंटी है. कंज्यूमर क्या बात करते हैं वो कंज्यूमर की बड़ी बड़ी टेक की बातें करते हैं कि हाँ टेक से ये हो जाएगा, टेक से हो जाएगा. कंज्यूमर का तो कोई ध्यान नहीं देता बेचारा. So on that final note, thank you for being a wonderful audience. I'll leave you with this quote by Jeff Bezos. He's one of my idols that I have. So I'll read the quote out to you. When the world changes around you and when it changes against you, what used to be a tailwind is now a headwind. You have to lean into that and figure out what to do because complaining isn't a strategy. Thank you guys for being a very nice audience. Thank you, Thar. All the best. Bye-bye.